So Kiran, you will be able to do it.
Yes, Vinod, it's recording.
Just let when you start.
Yes, I've started, Vinod.
Started. Okay. Okay. So you should be seeing. You should see a presentation now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. So, so what is NanoBI? So what we are an we are an end-to-end analytics platform. So what we mean by end-to-end, that everything that you need to build out analytics should happen out of a single platform. So traditionally, what happens is when we talk about analytics, different tools and technologies that take care of different aspects of the entire story of analytics. So what typically happens is there is this ETL tools that enables you to bring data from multiple sources. So if the sources could be in any of your traditional relational tables, databases to your columnar databases like your Postgres or MongoDB, or any other sources could be direct from Excel spreadsheets or from any of the external sources. So what happens in a traditional life cycle of a data warehouse or an analytics implementation is that you have different tools that address the aspect of bringing in the data, and then you also have the different tools that takes care of the metadata part of it. So you have a metadata layer, then you'll have a different tool to take care of the consumption part of it, which is your visualizations of dashboards or whatever. So what we try doing through NanoBI is all of it happens out of a single platform. So which means it allows you to use this metadata definition across the entire breadth of it. So that allows you to have single version of truth of both the data and the definitions. So when two people are looking at a particular metric, you know that the definition of that point, that definition that is used to deliver or show that particular metric is the same, and there's no confusion in terms of is somebody interpreting it differently. So that way the consistency is maintained. So what the platform does, like I said, it's an end-to-end, which means we have the ability to pull out data from any of the sources that you see here. So through some of them are native adapters that are available within the product where we directly connect and pull the data if required, depending on again whether the underlying source system allows us to pull the data or not, or it could be through push mechanism. So we support both pull and a push mechanism of bringing in data. Once the data comes in, the core part of it is what we call as the analytics that you see here, the center part in the light blue color, is the concept called what we call as a nanomart. Now, this is a very important concept in NanoBI because this is the heart of the entire platform. Now, what we've done through this nanomart feature or a technology is to simplify this and simplify the entire on not only onboarding of data, but the ability to bring in data across different sources and connecting them in a simple manner so that a user can get to pick up data from any of this and create a 360 view of the data. Give a simple example. Let's say we might start with only breach data tomorrow for as part of the solution. But let's say a few weeks down the line, we might want to bring in holdings data and want to provide analysis on the holding. And few weeks later, we might want to bring in some transaction data or whatever. So what will happen? You can keep bringing in data as you require into each of those nanomarts, and the platform has the ability through different levels of intelligence. One is through definitions and through model. So what it does is you can start identifying what are the common attributes across each of them, and then allow you to create a quick master mart, which will allow you to then start connecting and bring in, to create a report where you can pick up the important attributes and create a report without having to go back and do any of your underlying procedures or transformations of data. I'll quickly show you that feature on the product. Then on top of sits is the entire
Yeah.
layer.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Yeah. So I just want to learn how this data pooling is happening. So is it going to happen at a real time, or you need to run an ETL and save the data at a particular intermediate table, and from there you will be pulling the data? How does this happen?
So for real time, what we normally do is it again depends on the underlying core applications capabilities about having the ability to give us real time information. In most of the implementations, what we've done is instead of because again, sometimes the source application may not have the feature to push the data in a real time manner. So what we've done is we put in a frequency of every 30 minutes. So it could be every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, whatever frequency you think you might want to bring in the data, you can schedule it accordingly. So then on top of the entire nanomarts is, like I said, it's a completely definitions after that. Everything whatever you do in the NanoBI platform is through a definitions, which means if I want to define something, it is through a set of user interfaces. Again, there are 4 steps that you need to do. Step 1 is what we call as a nanomart. Step 2 is what we call as creating a metric, which is nothing but a measure in NanoBI's language. Metric is nothing but like number of breaches, value of breaches, or average value per breach, those number of days it takes to close a breach. Those are the things that would be called as a measure. Whereas this step after that would be something called a dimension, which is nothing but an attribute that you want to measure something. So it could be number of breaches by a scheme type or a fund type or over a period of time. So those becomes your a dimension. Now, a report or an analytic in NanoBI is a combination of a measure and the dimension. So you can have just a measure or a combination of a measure and dimension becomes your visualization, which can be represented as a tabular report or as a chart or as a widget, which is we call it as an indicator. And a collection of these things becomes your dashboard. So that's how it's laid stacked up in terms of the platform. So the platform also would have some of the features that we have on the platform, other than enabling you to visualize the data within the same platform, and not only through and also through native mobile app, but it also allows us to push embed NanoBI into any of your core applications. So which means uh, you can embed NanoBI dashboards into Fundware application, which is what I think which is what has happened at Northern Trust, where some of the dashboards are embedded as part of the core application. So a user logs on to Fundware, and then from there the dashboards are represented. So which again, which is embedded into operational systems, but also you can embed just an API where you may just want to not instead of embedding the entire chart or a dashboard, you may just want only a piece of data to be made available to you. So that also is possible through an API. So which means everything in NanoBI is available as an API for the user. So which means you could use an API to create a user. You can use an API to load data. You can use an API to consume data in either as a chart or as pure raw data format. So that's how the entire architecture is being laid out. So hence everything that you would typically require to build out analytics, right from bringing in data, defining what you would want to do with the data, visualizing the data, and also help you build what we call as the diagnostic analytics and predictive analytics all out of the same platforms, which means you could also build out a business user can build out some of the quick using the metadata again, build out quick predictive models. Could be forecasting models, it could be clustering models, it could be regression models. So they can quickly build any of these models without having to have a need or a dependency of they knowing a Python or an R language. Having said this, in case somebody has written a model in Python or R, we also allow you to embed any other programs or models that are written in any other language into NanoBI as well. So that allows you to maintain everything in one platform. So this in essence is what NanoBI is all about. So some of these features I will walk you through now before the training. Any questions on this?
Nothing from my side right now.
Yeah. So I was telling you the concept of this nanomarts and the neural metadata, right? So this slide gives you that particular background, and this is the uh, technology that we have patent for. So what it allows is that let's take a simple example of a bank. Instead of just extending the same thing, I'll take a simple example of a bank. A bank you would typically have different types of a product that a bank offers. So you would have different types of loan products, different types of liability products. Now, let's say, and you have different systems that give you different types of transaction data. It could be CRM data, it could be transaction data, it could be transactions coming in from any of your net banking or mobile transactions or whatever. All of these, there are different data sets. Now, how do you, if I'm a user who wants to come back and simply request for a customer 360 view to understand how many customers of me of my bank are using not only a loan product but also have a savings account and also have a credit card, but have also invested in mutual funds through my banking channels. Now, traditionally, if you were to address this simple requirement, most of the times, most of the organizations, what they've done is in their data warehouse implementation is to create a single customer table, which will have hundreds of attributes where you try to bring in all the data from different systems into one single table so that you can address this 360-degree question. Now, the challenge in that particular implementation is tomorrow, if you want to capture more attributes, then you go back and you add a column into this particular customer table. But the problem is then the time it takes to update something, the time it takes to bring in data, the amount of transformations you might want to do to bring in the data across all of them would take time. So hence, what we've done through this nanomart and this neural metadata layer is to simplify that. So what it means is that I can bring in data pertaining to all my loan accounts into one nanomart, or I could have five different nanomarts for my five different loan products. One nanomart for my vehicle loans, another nanomart for my personal loans, a third nanomart for my corporate loans, fourth nanomart could be for my project finance, whatever. And there could be another nanomart for all my current account, savings account, another nanomart for my fixed deposits, so on and so forth. Then I could have a fifth nanomart, which will give me data pertaining to uh, all the transactions that a particular customer is doing. So what it does is you can start bringing in, creating this nanomarts as and when you want to onboard the data, and using a concept called a master data, which is nothing but attributes that are commonly available across each of these nanomarts. What it means is that it could be that, for instance, a product could be a common attribute, a customer is a common attribute, a branch could be a common attribute. So some of the whatever is common attributes can be commonly created something as a master mart. Now, what it allows is by just doing that, the platform allows you to start connecting data from my loans nanomart to my current account nanomart and create a report without you having to write any uh, transformations of data, not, and also at the same time not to have worry about granularity of data. For instance, I might also have a data separate nanomart where I'm storing all the different types of transactions, both financial transactions and non-financial transactions. And I want to know customer what is the current balance of his savings account and what is his loan outstanding balance, but also want to know how many transactions has this customer done in the last 30 days, which are monetary transactions and non-monetary transactions. Now, if you look at transactions is an additive measure, whereas your balances are not additive. So the platform can inherently understand when to aggregate what and what time period and all of that. So all of that is kind of managed through this neural metadata layer. Now this simplifies you to simplifies your entire design of your data warehouse. So that's why we call it as using a Lego block way to creating a virtual data warehouse, not having to worry about creating a single monster tables to physical or physicalize the data warehouse to address different types of questions that a user would have. We using this nanomart, it allows you to quickly add a nanomart. If you're not happy with a particular nanomart, you can remove a nanomart without having to worry about the impact it would have on the overall warehouse. So it quickly gives you the ability to add in and create your own virtual data warehouse over a period of time. So this in essence, this is the core concept that is important in the platforms. Once we understand how to create an nanomart, the rest of the steps are very simple. And to create an nanomart, all we need is an understanding of the business, and we know how to. It will just to create the nanomart accordingly. So this is the important or the first step in the entire platform. Any questions on this before we jump into the product?
Yes. So, just what I could infer from your comments is that you are creating different nanomarts to store different type of data somewhere in a nanomart. Is
Yeah.
it right?
Yes.
So, for a master data, there will be a different nanomart. For a transaction data, there will be a different nanomart. If there is a different product, then there will be a different nanomart for a different master table. Is it like that? So we'll have multiple nanomarts.
Correct. Multiple nanomats with a single master mart.
Uh, okay. and a single master mart. So from the nanomart, the data is flowed to the single master mart, or directly the connection is done to the nanomart.
So directly, so what happens is, so each of the way the data processing would happen is you would first connect to your underlying source and refresh your master marts first. Master data could be nothing but like branch, product. In let's say in case of fundware, it would be funds, schemes,
Hmm.
breach types, breach master, reasons for breaches. All of that would be your master.
Okay. Okay.
Portfolio, all of that would be a master. Now, a nanomart could be all your breaches could be one nanomart. All the holdings could be a different nanomart. And breaches is let's say then there are for a particular breach you might have 10 reasons for which a particular breach might have happened. You might store that in a different nanomart. All the reasons could be in a different nanomart. Just give you an example. So which means
Okay.
you don't have to forcefully fit everything into one nanomart.
Okay. Okay.
So that way,
So
it's like it's simply that way you just take one source table, bring it in without writing any complex stored procedures or programs to aggregate or bring the data into the granularity that you need to analyze.
okay. So I think this structure makes it faster, is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
This structure tremendously improves the time to go live.
Hmm.
Because you're not so to a large extent what we've noticed is in complex scenarios is where we write a stored procedure to update something because it cannot if it cannot be done through a definition only then we go back and write a procedure. Otherwise to a large extent we use the features of the platform itself to connect to your data and pull the data out, and if there is any transformations that are required at the time of bringing in the data itself, there's a user interface that is available where you can also do some simple transformation rules. All of that can happen there itself, which means you don't have to go back and write an insert script or an ETL script to load the data.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, so I'll just skip all of these slides now. So I'll just jump into the product. I'll just quickly show you the demo and then Kiran will start on the. I'll just show you where one is the all the features in the my this one bank setup, and then I'll show you what we built out for the breach as a demo using breach data. So, like we said, it's an end-to-end platform, right? So everything that you want in the platform happens through these series of modules that are made available on the landing page. Now, this landing page naturally will change depending on the role that a user performs. So depending on the role I perform, this landing page could change. And if I'm an end user, I will not even come into the landing page. I'll directly be taken to the dashboard. So there's nothing else. I log in and go to the dashboard. But all the other users will have a landing page depending from where they can navigate to further. So the important modules are the designer module that I talked about earlier, which is the suppose I want to build a new solution. So this is the module that we will use to create a solution. So what are the different steps in the solution is it's a four-step process that I told. One is the nanomart creation. Second is a measure, a dimension, and analytics. A measure dimension can run parallelly. It is not that one after the other. And these two allows once a nanomart is defined, you can create as many measures as you want. You can create as many dimensions as you want. You can create as many analytics you want. Analytic is nothing but a visualization widget, which is either could be a chart, could be a table, could be a number, just number as an indicator. So that becomes your analytics. So it's these are the three or four things that you would need to do to enable or to bring them into a dashboard. A dashboard is where you can bring in different analytics into one single dashboard, which means a dashboard can have analytics from different nanomarts. It's not necessarily that one nanomart can point to one dashboard. In a dashboard, you could have data from 5 different nanomarts coming into a single dashboard. But at the same time, you could also create an analytic from 5 different nanomarts into one single analytics. So that way, you have you have the easy flexibility to create the way you want the user you want the story to be provided to a user. So that's on the designer module. The visualization talked about, which is your dashboard layer, where again, depending on the privileges, a user can create their own dashboard, or you can just view the dashboard that have been provided by their administrators or a designer. Then the next and the second important module is the access management. So one is your entire role-based control, which is which user will have access to what particular modules of the platform, but also what nanomarts will they have access to. I might want to say that user one will have access to only breach data, but user two will have access to breach data plus the holding data. You can control that aspect of it. But at the same time, using the data splice, you could also control the data security at a data level. Let's say user 3 logs in, you might want to show data only belonging to certain fund houses, not all the fund houses. Then user 4 logs in, you might want to show belonging to particular fund houses, use or a combination of fund house and scheme types. So you can control data at that granularity. So which means you could have potentially have one dashboard depending on which user logs in. The platform understands what data should be made visible to them. So without having to you creating different versions of those reports or data. So that is done through the data splice management. And then you have the operations module that allows us to bring in data. So through this data acquisition and this database load feature or the data file load, what you see in these three things here is the way we bring in the data. So data acquisition allows you to create a simple mapping logic where you just point to the underlying source table and say my source table of will map into my target nanomart, and this column will go into this column. So which means I could say the put breach ID of this my source will go into, I might call it as ABC in the nanomart, will go into ABC column. So all of this mapping screens, everything is available in the data acquisition module. And in case there are some data that is not available in the source system, but is available in a file, which could be a CSV or an Excel file, you could also use the data file load option to do it. Now, all of this can be automated using the workflow, which means you can create a workflow which allows you to automate the entire thing, including not only include the data part, but also what should happen after the data comes into the nanomart, which is after the dashboards are refreshed. Do you want a certain dashboards or reports to be emailed out to users? You can also schedule that. It could be emailed out as an Excel or a PDF, or you might want to just send out alerts. Alerts could be just when something happens, you might want to send out an alert setting. Okay, by the way, your number of breaches compared to yesterday has gone up by 3%. You might want to check that. So you might want to send that alert as an email or a text message. So all of this happens through the workflow engine. So this is the data operations module. Then comes in another module that we've created something called a curated data. Now, this is important because most of the times when we're analyzing information or analysis, it's all about what data do we have in the enterprise. Now, we tend to miss out on some useful public information that could potentially give a different perspective of our business or the performance. So what we've allowed through this curated data is to bring in that data. It could be macroeconomic data, it could be stock market data, it could be anything that you might want to bring in to see the impact of that on your internal data. So using this curated data, it allows you to do that. For instance, you might want to look at number of breaches by, you might want to look at the correlation of number of breaches by, let's say, the growth in my stock market indices. Do my breaches go up when the stock market prices go up, or it's the vice versa? Just you might just have a gut feeling, but you might want to validate it. So you can validate that using this simple feature called curated data management. So this is the core modules, and there are some supporting modules called metadata service module. This helps us to move the metadata definitions from one environment to another environment, which is, let's say we create a solution in development environment, but you want to move it into UAT, from UAT to production. All of this happens through the metadata services. So this is how the entire platform is stacked up. So whatever you need is all happens through this. And there's another role called a system administrator role, which will allow you to further control some of the finer aspects of what we call as the roads. You might say this end user will not be able to drill down, this end user will not be able to download data, this end user can do this feature. So you can also further control some of the features in the at a system administrator level. So any questions on this?
Yeah, I have two questions
Yeah.
regarding user management and admin model. Okay,
Yep.
so for as you said that you can control the view or control the access of a particular user.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
So, how that is done? Is it done? I mean, I obviously know that the Nano BI will be integrated with Fundware. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
so the Fundware system admin, okay,
Mm.
will have the access to this pages, and then he will log in and restrict the access, or he has to go specifically to NanoBI URL or NanoBI portal and then restrict the rights of particular user. How does that happen?
So currently the way it is envisaged in terms of the integration at fund between Fundware and NanoBI is through an API. So which means as and when a user is created in Fundware, if that user is mapped to a particular fund house or a scheme or whatever attributes that controls that user when they log into Fundware, the same things will get created in NanoBI using the user management of the data splice. So that API is already made available. So that way
Okay.
there's a tight integration. So you don't need to come back and do that. Having said this, suppose tomorrow you have a particular use case where that particular attribute may not be available in Fundware at the time of creation, but you want to control at the time of giving the dashboard. Just give you a simple example. You might want to tomorrow. You might want to say, I want to give my dashboards to a fund house. And at that point in time, you may let's say you're not able to control that user because you're not giving fund house a user access in Fundware into Fundware. We just want to give them access only to the reports. In which case, you can come back and create a user for a particular fund in NanoBI and control the splice on that. So that could be a different scenarios, which means not necessarily that everything has to move from Fundware, but there could be certain scenarios where maybe you might want to create a user directly in NanoBI and give access to certain reports in NanoBI based on certain conditions. That also is possible.
Okay. And second question was
Sure.
related to this data upload, which you
Mm.
just showed something at the bottom.
Mm.
So you are saying that the NanoBI has an option to upload certain files if the data is available in an uploadable format. Okay.
Mm.
So
Yep.
this data which we upload from NanoBI,
Mm.
so where is this data pushed? Is it pushed in Nanomart, or is it pushed in the Fundware database?
No, it will always be into Nanomart.
Okay, always in the Nanomart.
And
Okay.
always into Nanomart. So everything that you see will always be into Nanomart. Now, having said this, there are different ways in a Nanomart can be created. I'll explain that also in a while. So depending on that, the data, everything in NanoBI, it's like I said, has to go into some definition, and all of them point back to a nanomart. Whatever we do, everything points back to a nanomart.
Fine.
So what we'll just quickly say, I've just taken banks as an example, just to show you the concept of the nanomart and then how we can do. So if you look at in this particular thing, now you have different nanomarts being created. So you have the lending nanomart where we store all the loans. Then you have the current account, savings account, which is a different another nanomart that has been created. Then you could have a third nanomart where all the transactions are brought in, could be both monetary, non-monetary. And then you could have the collections nanomart, which is in where you could get all the collections pertaining data from your collection systems, which means a bank could have a different system for lending, could have a different core banking application for your current accounts, could have a different system for your transactions, and there could be a different system for collections. So which means you could have five different systems coming into five different nanomarts, or five different systems coming into a single nanomart, depending on how you visualize it. So what the platform does, what we do is, depending on as and when we create a nanomart, when we define what are the attributes, let's say in the lending summary, I'll just create all the nanomarts, and then based on it, let's say I've identified in my lending nanomart product, branch, customer, account. This is some of the important attributes I find which will be also be available in my collections nanomart, could also be there in my current account, savings account. So depending on that, you can create a master mart. So what happens, let's say if I were to look at the lending summary nanomart, or first let me look at the master mart. So what you do is this master mart, these are all the common dimensions that you think are relevant for which could be present in more than one nanomart. For instance, you could have a product attribute which will be present in current account, Nanomat. It could also be present in savings account. It could also be present in your lending, and it could also be present in your transaction Nanomat. So product could be one, currency could be another one, or customer or a branch. So some of the or a status of an account. So this could be some common attributes that are there. Whereas, let's say exposure band or a disbursement band, this could be very specific between your collections and your lending because it is present in two nanomats. You could it creates a it comes back and creates a master mart here. So which means a master, you will create a master where you think that particular attribute is going to be available or made can be used across more than one nanomart. Then you will come and create it as a master mart. Otherwise, you need not create it as a master mart. You can just create a simple master in a within a nanomart itself. So what and you can keep updating this master mart as and when you think of a new master or a new nanomod that needs to be added. You might want to create a new master. You can come and create a new master by just clicking on the update option. But how do we create an nanomod? Kiran will explain to you. This is the only technical step, if there is any, because it requires us to write a simple script to upload today. Today we allow only a nanomod to be created using a script, which is like you'll have to say create table. These are the columns I want to be created. So that's the only technical script that we have today. Having said this, we are looking at simplifying this in the coming releases.
Okay.
Uh,
So,
now,
like you gave an example of opening a bank analytic
mm,
master. So,
yeah,
when you open this NanoMart,
yeah,
uh, the boxes or the portlet which you just showed, those orange portlets,
mm,
I assume that those portlets are forming this NanoMart. Okay,
yes,
and those portlets are coming from different tables, right? From
correct,
Fundware.
correct, correct.
Okay. Now, if I want to develop a report, just a simple report,
Mm,
okay, so I can use multiple nanomarts to fetch that report, correct?
correct, correct.
Okay.
So
Uh,
that is
okay.
connected to the master one. That's why if you have the master controls that what how you can connect. When I show you the analytics screen, when you're creating a report, I'll show you how the platform intelligently disables things for you so that you do not pick up wrong attributes while creating a report.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned that only the technical step is when we create a nanomart, the
Yeah.
insights or the attributes of
Yes.
pulling those data
Mm.
is where the technical work comes. After
Correct.
that, it
Now,
is simple pulling of
correct.
data.
It may not I won't call it as pure technical because it's a if you spend 15-20 minutes you will learn how to create a table script. It's a very simple thing that in the English language you say create table, give a table name and give the list of columns, what columns you want, and you just mention the length, whether what type of data will it be a number, will it be a character, will it be date, what are the different types of columns. There are certain standards you need to follow. It's a
Like a fair knowledge on SQL.
yeah, so it'll be simple. Anyway, Kiran will walk you through that, and we'll quickly show you that as well. Huh?
Sure.
So once a master is created, if I were to look at lending summary mart, you will see in this particular case, it's a this is the all the columns that are there, which is whatever you see in the green now. This is your center, what we call as a factual data or a fact data. Now, fact data is something that keeps changing on a regular basis, which means you could have new breaches coming in, you could have new transactions coming in, you could have new accounts coming in this particular case. Whereas your breach type or a breach reason does not change every day. You might add a new breach reason once in a while. So those are called masters. Masters is something like your master diamond. Masters are nothing but where they do change, but they do not change that frequently or as your transactions happen. So hence the central table in a nanomart is what we call as a fact tables, which means a nanomart can have only one fact table surrounded by any number of dimension tables or master tables. So this particular structure, what you see here, is called the star schema structure, and this is one of the most rather one of the one of the best way or better ways to create a data warehouse. Star schemas is mentioned as one of the core principles when you're designing a data warehouse to follow. So any data warehouse implementations you go to, they follow two types of things. One is called star schema, another one is called snowflaking schema. So we follow the star schema approach to create a nanomart. So this is on. So if I were to go back to the current account nanomart, you will see there are only fewer attributes because you know that all the other attributes like your exposure band or disbursement amount band or delinquency band does not make sense for your current for savings account because those attributes are not present in your current account or savings account data. What is relevant is only your customer, branch, and product, right? So this way you can. But suppose tomorrow you might want to add another master, you can go back and update this nanomart. So there's no restriction that once a nanomart is created, both the master and the normal nanomart, that you cannot go and update it. You can update it, create it as and when a new requirement comes in, which means you might want to add a new attribute into this nanomart, you can add it. So this is you want to remove something, you can remove something. So that way, there's all flexibilities provided to user in terms of how they want to create a nanomart. Now, some of the other important things in a nanomart that we control is called something called a time series. Now, this is enabled only in case you have a fact data like this. Whatever you see in this particular central table, right, which is green in color, which is the fact data, you can enable a time series. Now, a time series is nothing but when we're doing these time functions, right? I want to compare between yesterday versus today, or yesterday versus this today versus last month, today versus last month, same time last month, or last year, or the last quarter, or a percentage growth. All of that you want to do, you can easily tell the platform how do I want to measure? You could follow a calendar year or a fiscal year. So calendar could be 1st December. You could say, and again, different countries have a different calendar year and different fiscal year. There's another screen where you can set up what is my start of a calendar year, what is my start of a fiscal year, what are my weekends, whether my weekend is a Saturday, Sunday, or a Friday, Saturday. So you can set all of this. What is my week start day? All of that can be set in a different scheme. But here you say you just select it and select the different date columns. So it quickly allows you to perform any of the time functions in the report itself without having to write any formula or a code. So this is the place where you will enable the time series. Now this is required mainly for all the nanomarts that are factual nanomarts, not the mastermind. In mastermind nanomarts, this will not get enabled at all. It's only in the other nanomarts you'll find this particular option called time series being enabled. So there are additional attributes that you can capture on the nanomart. All of this, which is most of the time you don't end up using it. Suppose you want to see how the nanomart was created, you can download the nanomart script using this particular thing. And suppose you want to allow a user to directly load the data in Excel sheet through into this nanomart, you can also give them a template. You can tell them you can upload a template here saying that so when the user load, they can download a template from the loading screen and create the data in that particular format. So all of this can be uh, provided. And at the same time, you, you can also create, suppose, like I said, there could be a complex scenario where you might want to uh, update, create some procedure or some update some particular column based on some logic, which cannot be done through user interface, and it requires a huge amount of calculations to be done. In which case, you can come and create your own procedure or the script that can be embedded. But this again, most of the times you don't need to do it. In very rare scenario, you might want to come back and do this particular at this one. So this is the nanomart screen, and creating, like I said, it's a simple step. You'll just give it a name, and then you will create that whatever script that you create will be uploaded here, which Kiran will show you how to create an nanomart. Okay.
Okay.
Once a nanomart is created, then next comes in the definition that we call as the measures and dimensions, which again is through a user interface. Here you don't need to create any and understand any particular logic. All you need is the business sense of it. Suppose I want to look at total accounts. All I do is I'll just create a definition and then say build expression. Where is my total accounts? It'll be always in my fact data. I'll just say total accounts will be based on my loan account number column. I can just do it. I can decide what will be the type of account aggregation account I want to count the number of accounts. So which means I cannot do a sum. It can be count or a count distinct. Suppose you expect that more than the same account number is going to be present in the table more than once because of some reasons, then you can use a count distinct. Otherwise, you can use a simple count measure. And then you click, and in case you want to apply any further filter conditions at the time of creating a measure, you can also say create it. For instance, you might say that I might want to create count the number of accounts only when their status only when the status is in a particular state, could be active state or whatever. I could just create it, or I could just say count the number of count the number of accounts only when their outstanding is greater than 100 rupees, which means I want to only count those accounts which are more than 100 rupees. Otherwise, I do not want to count them at all. You can ignore. So this, you can apply any filter condition like this using any of the operators. It could be as complex as you might want to do it. All it requires is picking up. It could be an and or a or a plus or a minus, or it could be some logical if-else condition. You can use an if-else or all or like or whatever. You can do any of these options here. So once this is done, you click on save. This becomes your measure that you can use it in a report any number of times. So there are two types of measures. One is your simple and another one is a computed measure. A simple measure is where you have the data available in the underlying table, whereas computed is where you use a combination of measures to create a computed, which means I want to do A plus B. I want to derive average balance per customer per account. Which means I have the total number of accounts, and uh, I also have the uh, outstanding amount. So I might want to do outstanding divided by number of accounts to derive my average. I can use a computed measure in that case. This what difference is in computed measure? You will we will not have this data available in the table, but it's calculated within the platform for you to use it in the report. And both simple and computed measure can be used in any number of times in your reports. So this is your measure screen. Once your measure is created, then comes in your dimension, which is a way to represent how do you want to see the data. So what you would do is, depending on where you want to create your definition, you will come here and create it. It's again a simple drag drop. Let's say I want to create a geography hierarchy. I'll say I want to when a user logs in, I want them to start with the country, then go to a state, go to a city, then go down to the branch. I might just do this, which means you can, whatever you see here, this path dictates the drill that a user can perform, which means you can create a report at the country level and the user can navigate down to the branch level by doing a drill option, or you can directly create a report at a branch level or at a city level or at a state level. And when you create a report at state level, the user can drill down to city and branch. When you create a city, you can do a drill down to branch. Now, this is how you can control the navigation path. And if you do not have a level, if you do not want them to give any drill, you can just remove them here. So which means the report user will only get to see country. They'll not be able to do any drill down further than country. So to this, you can again add, you can modify something, you can append something where you might want to say that, my branch name is not easily visible, but it can be arrived by removing some characters, adding some characters, all of that. You can add any of those filter conditions or aggregate some functions using this operation window here. And then you save it. And there are some important controls that we allow you to do. What does it mean? The splice, when we click on enable splice, this allows us to control security at a data level. So which means whenever user is created in the platform, a user has to be mapped into some country. Only then they will be able to see the dashboards. Otherwise, they will not be able to see a dashboard, which means the user could be mapped to all the countries, or they could be mapped to a specific country or a combination of countries. So this allows us to control that aspect, which means you can decide on which attributes you want to control the data. So in let's say in case of fundware, you might want to say use fund houses and scheme, or fund name and a scheme as a combination to control the security. Now, what does drill actions do? Drill actions enable us to control whether, like I talked about here, like state and city, do you want uses to drill down. You might have a hierarchy like this, but if I do not enable drill down, I will not be able to drill in the report. So this drill actions can control this because sometimes you may not want users to do any drill. They just want to view. So this we can control that. Investigate feature is an interesting feature that we brought in. This allows you to do attribution analysis. It will tell you what caused the difference between today's numbers with yesterday's number. What combination of factors have contributed to that. So using investigate, it quickly in the dashboard image, there's an option called if investigate. You click on a button, you click on that particular option, it will immediately give you what was the reasons why something has happened, what was the reason, why did it happen. So this controls this investigate. So this is a dimension screen that allows you to create a dimensional attributes. Any questions on measures and dimensions?
No, that's
Yeah. So and then comes in the analytics screen. This is the important screen where you can bring all of them together to create your single view. So it'll always open with a blank. You always start with selecting a measure. Now I can select a measure from any of the nanomarts here. Let's say I want to pick up from lending somebody, I pick up my number of accounts. The moment I pick up, you can it enables how do I want to see the data? Do I want to see the data as a chart? Do I want to see the data as a table or a indicator? Indicator is nothing but a number. Now chart, you can select multiple types of charts. Also, there are different types of data that are available that you can choose. Basic charts to advanced charts like your heat maps, your radar charts, to your waterfall, to splines, your candlesticks that you might want to use, to funnel charts in funnel or pyramid charts in your widgets. And then there's also geographical representation. For geographical representation, we use Google Maps, so which means we expect a lat long to be available. Or I can just choose to see it in a table, or I can choose to see it in an indicator. So which means this is the number. Like I said, if you remember, in an anomat, we set a time series, which means I've selected number of accounts as my measure. I want to see the number of accounts for the latest period, which means whenever I see the report, I want to see that the number of accounts that are active as point in time. So in your case, it could be the number of funds that are being processed or number of schemes that are there or whatever. That could be an indicator, which is where you want to show as on that particular date. So I can just do a refresh. It just creates it'll just give me an indicator in this particular case. Now, there are also interesting time functions that I talked about where you could see this. I want to see the number of accounts, not only for today, but I also want to see for previous same day last week, same day last month, previous week, all of this comparison, including any of this. And I can also set a lag. I want to see the current month's number of accounts compared to 3 months back at any point in time, which means rolling 3 months. Today versus 3 months back, tomorrow versus 3 months back. So all of this you can set the lag for anything week ago or day ago, whatever, depending on how the user would want to view their report. Or it could be cumulative, where I want to see in this cumulative we'll use typically when it's an additive, like number of transactions. You might want to say a number of breaches that have happened for a week, for a month, or whatever. You can do that. Moving averages will help you decide whether what is my moving average depending on daily, whatever frequency that you select. And then there's also change that allows you to the percentage and an absolute change. So you can decide the same metric can be seen. What is my growth compared to previous and the current period using percentage or absolute change. So if you just to see how it looks, I can duplicate this measure and say, show me a percentage change for previous month. I just select previous month and I'll say show it to me percentage form. So it will immediately show calculate and show me it shows me minus 32%. Now I can show it, like I said, show it in a table or whatever, and I can decide to provide some exceptional formatting. I'll just say by value of measure and just say whenever it is negative, I want to show this and can choose a font color, all of that exceptions I can perform. So you can do this, and you can also do the same thing in a table. I can just perform, I'm just looking the same thing in a tabular information. Now to this, I want to add by product. I'll just say let's add probably a branch. I'll just add a branch. I'll look at state. right? It immediately gives me a state-wise view, right? So, and if I enable a drill down here, what happens in the if the control here, then in the other in the dashboard, you can user can alert will be able to do a drill down from a state to a city to a branch because that's how the hierarchy we set up. So this is where you would come back and create, or I just want to see it by a chart. I can just see it by a chart, and I can just select a theme that I want to use. There are different themes that are available, or you can default it to the theme that the platform provides, or you can choose any of the themes that you want to use. So I'm just can use any themes like this, and I can just save. This becomes my widget or a chart that I can use it in my dashboard. Or automatically the drill options will get enabled when it's a chart form. So this is where you can pick up a combination of a measure and a dimension to create the report, be it like I said, a chart, a table, or an indicator. Or I can show you how if you want to create a report from multiple nanomarts, how will it come? Let's say I'm going back to the same thing. I'll pick up number of accounts from my lending nanomart. I'm going to my current account. I'm also picking up my number of accounts from here. Okay. Now, if you look at it, the number of dimensions that are enabled automatically changes. In the early scenario, you had a lot more dimensions that you could use to analyze, but in this particular case, there are only fewer dimensions that allow you to analyze by. So in this case, I just want to pick up a customer. I want to see customer wise now how many people have what, and I want to see it only for the latest period. So it just gives me number of accounts customer wise, but I want to see how many customers are there who are using both my loan accounts and my savings account. What I can do is I can just apply a simple filter here saying that this greater than who has got more than one account as at least, and so it just tells me this customer, it tells me that this particular customer has one loan account and two savings account. I want to add a balance. I want to add, let's say, what is the average balance or the end of period balance that is there for this particular account. I can just add. So this is the this is where we added for the customer. This is coming from lending. This is coming from CASA. This is coming from CASA. I want to do some. I want to take some calculation where I want to do a simple arithmetic between these two numbers, which is from two different nanomarts. I can also do that using the on-the-fly measure. So I can just say test. I'll just say end of period balance divided by, I want to say number of loan accounts. Just for the demo sake, I'm just doing that. I also can create it, right? So you can, or you might want to say uh, number end of period balance into 0.5% is my processing fee. Let's say I want to call it as processing fee. So you can just say whatever you want to. You can just create. So let's right. So this is where you can also create a measure by taking data from two different nanomarts or more than two different nanomarts and create it on the fly measure. So that way it also allows you to quickly add anything that you might want to show in the report, which are based on different data sets in a single report. So this is how the nanomart simplifies for you to pick up data elements and create your nanomart. Create a report. Any questions on this?
No, nothing.
Yeah.
Anybody from team has anything to ask here?
I wanted to ask, can we create multiple master marts, as in, or can there only be one master table?
See, master mart will be one. We can have any number of tables in a master mart.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Ideally,
so
you will have only one place where all your masters reside, and where you can, if you have different, let's say if you have different master nanomarts, then what will happen is you will not be able to know which nanomart will you want to, which master mart will you want to use. So it becomes again, it becomes difficult when you're trying to create a report. So our recommendation would be to create one master mart for for every solution. So there's a concept called a solution. Okay, so I'll just show you that screen again. So if you look at a nanomart is always belonging to something called a select app, right? This is a solution. So which means for each solution you could have a different master mart. So the solution is nothing but you create a solution to give an example, you could create a solution for all the banking data in one solution. You could create a different solution for all the HR data, but you want to, because you do not want to show the HR nanomarts or HR data to all the users of banking data. You could create a separate nanomart for HR. Similarly, you could create a separate solution for finance. In this one, there's a concept here. There's also a concept called a virtual app, where you can bring in again data from different app solutions and create your global solution. So uh, we'll cover this at a later stage, but the concept is that every nanomod belongs to a solution, and for a particular solution, you should have only one master mart. That's a thumb rule that we recommend. But the platform will allow you to create multiple masters, but ideally we will not recommend you to do. But within a master, you can have multiple master tables.
okay, thanks.
So that's how we create. And then finally comes the dashboards. Dashboards is where all of it comes together. Now you can create any layout that you want. In this case, there's this one particular layout I've created just from a demo perspective, or it could be a layout like this. So you can create any number of any layouts that you want, including the way you want to place all of that, depending if you have the ability to create. There's an option called create new. Here, if you use that option, it will allow you to create the dashboard as many as you want here, provided you have the privileges. Now, all the features that I talked about, be it drill or whatever, happens in this particular all of it happens in this particular on dashboard itself. So you can, like I said, you can. There's no restrictions in terms of how many widgets or charts that you can add. You can add it depending on your story, but thumb rule is do not have more than 18 or 20, because sometimes it becomes difficult for a user to navigate with so much of information. So you can restrict a dashboard to about 18 to 20 different widgets. That will be an ideal recommendation. And the platform prompts you the moment you exceed a particular number. It prompts you saying that do you want to continue or not. Okay. Now, all of this has interactive capabilities. Suppose I want to interact, I can just click on this. It automatically opens up. I want to see the portfolio, let's say by product. I can just go down to the different types of products. It will tell me what is my portfolio across different types of products. But I want to see for this particular product, I want to see which particular geographies or branches are using this particular product. I mean, then in this case, I'm just navigating from a drill down to drill across. Drill down is nothing but, like you said, going down the hierarchy. Drill across is moving from one attribute to another attribute. From product, I'm moving to a branch now. So in a branch, I'm just going into a state, right? So it will give me for a particular product. What I've done is I've gone into different geography on which that particular product is where my exposure is to this particular product. Now I want to drill further into understand a little bit more about Maharashtra. What I can do is I can just go back and say drill down and say show me details of Maharashtra. I see that because my portfolio is in Marathwada region, I can just go to Marathwada. It tells me what are the portfolio across each of them. Now, at this particular stage, I want to see Aurangabad seems to have the highest portfolio. I want to see the account-wise information. I can just click on this and do it here. So it goes down to the account level information. So which means you can go down to the underlying transaction on which the report was or the particular number was arrived at. You can add more attributes using this. You can change the sequence in which this particular thing is visible. And you can download this if you have the permissions, and then you can also save. Suppose you make any changes to this particular view, you can save this so that next time when you do a drill through, it will open up in that particular state. So that way, yeah, you can then do whatever analysis you might want to do further on it. So this feature is called a drill down and a drill across. Now this is available in each of the charts and widgets that you see here. All of them have this option. So here also I can just do the same thing. Maharashtra, I can just go down to this one, or I can just I can do a drill across in a drill across into this. I can just go down and say drill across to a product. In this case, I'm just doing navigating the other way. So I'm just going down to this, right? So I can just keep navigating the way I want my answer the questions that I have. I can keep navigating on the product using the feature of a drill down, drill across, and a drill through. So this is the basic navigate the one of the basic navigation features that you have. Then what we talked about is the ability. Like remember we created this feature with a where if it's fallen down, I want to show it as a negative arrow here. But I also want to be alerted when this happens. I can set an alert here. So I can just say whenever the growth is negative, then I can just choose. I want to be informed only if it is negative for a particular attribute. For instance, I might say, show to me only when for a particular type of a product, only if it falls, then I need to be alerted. For instance, you might say, I want to be alerted when the number of breaches increases for a particular fund house only beyond a particular percentage, only then alert. Otherwise, for all the other fund houses, I'm not interested. You could do that. And then set for how do you want to be communicated. So I can just say send by uh, email and an SMS and save it. So what happens is this automatically, whenever that particular breaches occur, the alert is sent out as a text message and email. So uh, this is your feature called an alert. And there are other important collaboration things that we provided called something called a comment. So we can actually also when you're doing a review, you can capture the review feedback in as a comment here so that it gets timestamped like this. So next time when you come back and review what happened, you have the entire history of all the various feedback or comments that have been provided by different users in a single place. So there's this collaboration feature also that is made available to you. And then there's also something called annotation, which means it will also, I want to highlight only this particular cell. I can just go back and highlight only that particular cell here. So, so this feature, then that's the annotation feature that allows you to annotate a particular, wherever the annotation is provided, it highlights to you, it gives you some kind of an indicator that there's something as somebody's provided a comment on this particular uh, number or attribute there. And there are other things that you can also do in it. Suppose I want to change the chart type, I can change the chart type. I want to look at a simple statistics, which is my mean, median, or standard deviations that is available in a click there. Or if I want to download, I can do a download. If I want to edit this, I can edit it provided I have the privileges. I can edit it. And when I edit it, if somebody else is created, if I edit it, it will always be a save as. I cannot save that particular definition. And if I want to download the data, I can download the data. Or if I want to download the entire data, I can also download the entire data. So all of this, whatever is features that you see here are all controlled, which means you can control which features are made available or visible to a user. So this is what we call as the descriptive analytics. I'll quickly show you something on the diagnostic feature. We talked about the investigate feature, right? So I'll enable this investigate feature. I want to see what caused this increase between these two time periods when my number of delinquent accounts has gone up by 26 to 208. All I do is just click on it. It gives me uh, an attribute analysis about what particular combination of attributes has caused that increase in my delinquencies. So it quickly gives you a comparative thing. And what we are also now enabling is something called a 80-20 analysis. The platform will come back and tell you that 80% of this change can be explained by these factors. So which means it can come back and tell you that this particular product for this particular geography, for this particular type of a customer has contributed to the make maximum number of change, a maximum amount of change for this time period. So that way a user now has to only focus on those big impact items which they need, they can go back and do whatever reviews that they want to do. So that investigate feature enables you to quickly do that. Then we also talked about that curated data, right, which is bringing in data that is external to the organization. So this curated data allows you to bring in the data. In this case, I brought in different data sets, which is my loan, my inflation, my interest rate. I want to see the impact of delinquencies with inflation. Is inflation is an indicator or metric that is concerning, impacts my delinquencies. All I do is just click on this. It immediately gives me a visual correlation. Now, if you look at this, inflation data is coming from your external source. You cannot create a nanomart because inflation can come every month, whereas some data could come every day, some data could come once in a quarter, all of that. So you cannot really create a data model or a nanomart for it. But using that curated data framework, the platform intelligently understands how do you want to, how can the mashup happen in this. So this is your curated, what we call as curated data. But also at the same time, there's this feature called calendar. Now, this again is important. Why? Because sometimes there are events that occur that it cannot be quantifiable immediately, but you want to see the impact of it before and after. For instance, you might have done a productivity training or some kind of a training so that the number of breaches on comes down. Now, you want the training that you've conducted is an event. Now you want to see the impact of the training, whether the breaches have come down or not after a point in time. So how do you do that? Using this calendar, it allows you to do that. In this particular case, there was an event that occurred where it was, in this case, I've just configured using some elections were announced. And I see the impact of the elections. One is immediately the number of delinquent accounts started falling once that particular event occurred. So this is how you can also bring in an attribute that is not what do you call it? It's not completely quantifiable, or it's there you can do it for analysis, but still bring it to understand the impact of it before and after. So this is what we call as the calendar thing. But all of this is great because we know if a user who's comfortable with all the features can click on this. What we're now working on is to enable something called a bot. Now the bot will start working at the back and telling the user, now we found something interesting, you might want to go there. It is prompting the user to go there rather than me going and figuring it out. For instance, I might want to just say something. I just want to say, let me look at this. It says it's found something here. I may just go back here. It immediately takes me to that particular attribute where this particular event happened, or it could be uh, something else. I may just want to say something else. It just, in this particular case, it just showed me some other thing happened between percentage of delinquency with number of accounts. It found some correlation, right? So the platform also allows, using this bot, allows all of these interesting correlations to keep running at the back and pointing to saying that, okay, you might want to focus on that particular analytic where this particular thing has been noticed or found. This is the first thing of the bot that we're doing, and the next thing of the bot we're doing, which is not enabled right now in the demo environment, is called the ask. In this case, what the ask will do is it can ask the platform in English language, and the platform can come back with a particular number or a widget depending on what question you have. It may not be there in any of the screen, but you may just still ask it like the way you would typically type out in your Google search engine. So you might say that show me the number of breaches for this particular breach reason for this particular month. You can just type it in English language as in the way you would normally want to converse. You can just type it in that particular language, and the platform will come back and show you that as a number, as a chart, or as a table. So that is a feature that is just getting built out. So the beta version is out. So we should be releasing in the next 4 to 6 weeks. We should in the next couple of months we should have that release also being done. So this is how the end user interacts with the platform using the uh, the drill down, drill across, and also it has the features called filter. I might just want to feature look at the entire thing only for a particular geography. I can use this use the filter conditions if I filter conditions depending on what I or if we want to look at for a particular period, I can also choose a particular period. So all of these options filters are all available in every analytic, which means I can apply this filter for the entire dashboard. Or if I want to apply only for this particular for this, I can also do it for at an analytic level. So this is the various features that are available on the platform at any point. And if you want to know what data that I have, I can also see that this particular report was for 31st March 2019, but I have the data for this particular nanomart from 2018 onwards, which means I can use I can go back and seek any information between uh, 30th June 2018 to 31st March 2019. I can choose any period between this to see that report. So this is where the end user capabilities are. And like I said, you can also uh, download this. If you want to download this as a PDF, you can export this as a PDF. If you want to share this dashboard with somebody else, you can share this dashboard, but having shared in the sense that person has to log into NanoBI to see that. So otherwise they will not be able to see the dashboard. And then there is, in case you want to update this dashboard, if provided you have the privileges, you can also do an update. So this is the end user capabilities. Any questions here?
No. So this dashboard which I'm seeing right now, this dashboard is like all these portlets which you are seeing right now can be user specific driven, right?
Yes.
So this dashboard is visible to all.
So, as a designer, you can make some standard dashboards and make it available to all the users.
Mm.
Okay. And at the same time, you can give certain users the privilege of creating a dashboard themselves. Okay. Using
Okay.
this create dashboard, they can do. And when they create a dashboard, they can share, if they want, they can share it only with a specific user, not to all the users.
Okay.
Suppose I create a dashboard, I want to only share it with you. I can only share the dashboard with you because that's only both of us can see, but nobody else can see. So
Okay.
that option is there.
Okay, so the system admin, for example, can create a dashboard and can assign this dashboard to a specific user, and
Yeah,
also that specific user, apart from his traditional dashboard, can devise his own dashboard and then share this to any user which he wish to.
correct. And that share option, you can also what allows it, you can unshare it, remove the share whenever you wants to. So this option called share area, right? So it gives you the list of all the users. I might want to give the access to this person only today, but tomorrow I do not want to give the access of this board. All I can just come back and remove it, right? You can also ensure that only on certain times of the month I want to give the access to the dashboard. The rest remaining part of the time I do not want to. And as and when you give access to it, you can send an email notification saying that that user can now go and log in, that they have been given access to it.
Okay. And there was one this feature which you shared, which I am not able to get it correctly. Ask
Splice
feature.
management.
Ask.
Hmm.
Splice.
Yeah, tell me anything on ask.
Yeah, yeah. So I was saying that about this ask management. What is this feature? Ask.
Ask NanoBI is your it's NLP based bot where you can sometimes in if there are so many charts and widgets that you see here, right? But it may still not answer that specific question that you're looking for, because it's invariably happens that when somebody the biggest need of any business user is sometimes is you have hundreds of dashboards, but it still not doesn't answer the question that you have in mind. So what you do,
Right.
you end up going creating a different report. What we've done is instead of doing that, you can ask in English language. Can you create this? Can you show me this by this and this? Whatever the way you want to construct your English sentence, you can construct it. The platform will come back and create the widget for you automatically.
Okay.
And if you like it, you save it. Otherwise, you can keep modifying it. So it's like your
Okay.
Google search, right? If you don't, if what you do in Google search, if you want to look for some information, you just type it out. It'll give you. It not necessarily use save it as a bookmark all the time, right? Only if I want to save it as bookmark, I save that particular article or a page so that I can go back and reference it. Otherwise, I'll just go back and do another search. You can do the same thing in that Ask NanoBI.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So with this, what I will do is I will hand it over to Kiran to walk you through the today's mainly what we did was we based on the breach data, we just created one quick nanomart on the breach data itself. So we just created one master, and we just created all the breaches into one a table, all the breach data that we have, which we took only the important attributes in this, all the important attributes we brought in here. This is your fundware column, names in the fundware database. And we just created we just created one sample dashboard. So, so we just created one dashboard for this one. So. Right? So we can use this as a use case to do the training. Any questions?
Nothing from my side right now.
Sure. So what, since you have 30 more minutes, you want to continue with how to create the basics in terms of how do we create a tenant or a user or a nanomart. We can start with that. Or do you want?
Okay, what I suggest is we can start with the user
Mm,
today,
mm.
and then we can continue creating a nanomart from tomorrow.
Okay. So I will just hand it over to Kiran. I'll just log out. I have another call right now. Huh?
Okay, no
Kiran
problem.
will help you walking through this one today. Kiran, today we can cover on the access management.
Fine. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Any questions, please feel free to either reach out to me or Kiran at any point in time.
Sure, sure.
Okay. All the best, guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks,
Bye.
thanks, thanks.
Hi, Ajinkya.
Yeah,
Before
hi.
starting the training on the NanoBI tool, I just want to know the process. What is breach data? What is process? How the data is flowing? How we are capturing the data? What exactly analysis we are doing? I mean, what exactly we are looking for? So if I understand all this, then based on this, we can think and how to which mart to create, which all to keep as a masters, which all fact marts to be created. Based on this, based on the understanding, we will create. Based on understanding and requirement, we will be creating the mart. Okay. So now I just want to know the process. What is that exactly breaches? I mean, what does it mean? What we are doing? What business? What kind of business? So that then we can continue with the NLP training by creating those smarts, which is a basic one, which is the center of the solution.
Okay. So, what I suggest, Kiran, is that the creation of Nanomart, we can move that session for tomorrow for
Okay.
creation of Nanomart.
Yes. Yes.
Today, what we can concentrate basically on the user management and the access management model. So basically, we can park that item as closed because that I assume shouldn't be a big one. We just want to learn how the access of how the users logs in and how the accesses to different reports or different modules are given, and what are the different modules where the system admin can assign those to a user, or he can assign it directly to a role and all basically users get assigned to. So I want to learn.
Fine. Fine, Ajinkya. I'll walk through all that. Okay. I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So after creating the users will be shared the particular URL and their respective credentials, username and login. So based on username and login, they'll be logging into NanoBI and they'll be viewing the. So what I will do, I've already created one based on some data, some candidate training data. So based on that solution, I will show you how we will be creating user. So we
Yeah,
will
Kiran,
give the access to
your
the user.
okay. Hello, sorry, Kiran. Your voice is breaking. We cannot hear you well due to network issue, maybe.
1 minute. I'll just change my place. Is it fine, Ajinkya?
No, it is somewhat same. Let us continue. If we are not able to hear you.
One. Is it fine?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, ठीक है. So I've already created one solution, one demo solution based on some data set, like for example, candidate training. Uh, so what we'll do is we'll create the users, and I've already created a dashboard for that. We will create the users, and we'll see how we'll be sharing the dashboard to the users. Then after creating the users, how we'll be sharing the access to the users. I mean, sharing the URL and respective username and password credentials to the users. Okay. My screen is visible, right?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
like you said, once the users are created, you have to use this URL and login. But is it
Exactly.
not? But is it not the case like when we are doing an integration with Funware? So the users, for example, if I have 10 users in Funware created,
Okay. Okay.
I'll be having some tick, or rather, we'll take another example. I have 50 users created in Fundware.
Okay.
Okay, out of which I want 10 users to be flown from Fundware to NanoBI. So I'll have an integration service which will push this 10 users through an API mode to create those users in NanoBI database. Okay,
Okay.
right? So out of this 50 users, there are 50 users in Fundware, and now 10 users are now in NanoBI. Okay.
Sorry, I mean, they will not log in from NanoBI. They will log in from Fundware.
Yeah, yeah. I'm asking.
Yes. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah,
Right.
they'll be logging from the firmware, and they'll be given, and we will embed that particular dashboard for those 10 users. We'll
Hmm.
embed those dashboard. I think we know just told that we will be embedding the same dashboard so that they'll be logging through your application and they'll be having the access to those
Yeah.
dashboards,
So we
like
don't
view
need to
access.
go to yeah. So we don't need to go to this URL.
Exactly.
When the user
It,
click on a specific Nano BI menu options, automatically the logged in user will be redirected to the screens or the dashboard
dashboard
which
page.
dashboard page, right?
Exactly. Only the dashboards can be embedded, not entire application, as of my knowledge. I mean, if they want to see only the dashboards can be embedded, not entire application will be embedded. Like
Right.
creating the mart or creating the measure, not those things will be embedded. Only the reports, analytics, dashboard can be
Okay.
embedded into some other application. So that by logging into that application, we'll use an NLBI reports or dashboard.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
So just yesterday I created one solution as I told you. We'll just log in. This is my master login, NanoBI training. So for the solution, there'll be one master user. Okay. That master user will create the all the required nanomarts, measures, dimensions, and dashboard. based on the initial requirements of the client, initial requirements. After that, what you do, then depends on the client, depends on the customer if they want to give certain access to certain business people from their side. Then based on that, we'll be giving those rules. For example, if they want, for example, you mentioned some 10 users, 10 users, those 10 users, out of those 10 users, 5 users should only view the dashboards. They don't want to do anything. They just want to view the dashboards. Then we'll give only just dashboard visualization. Out of then remaining 5 users, they wanted to create something on NanoBI. Then then definitely they want to come into NanoBI. They want to log in through this URL, and they can create their own reports, nanomart measures and dimensions. After providing the training, they can create their own. That is called designer access. Okay, so at very basic, at initial stage, what we'll be doing, one master user will be creating all those required dashboards and will be sharing, and based on the requirement, we'll be creating the other users. Okay, now this is my master user, which I have created one solution yesterday based on some candidate string. I'm just logging in. So I'll just go through all those steps, or all. I'll not go through the steps. I'll just show you. You want me to show that those nanomarts measures, or you just want me to directly redirect to dashboard page or the users page?
You can, you can redirect to users page and the
Okay,
user access.
okay. I'll do one thing. Okay. So I've already created one dashboard for this, which is based on candidates training. So my solution name here is training. As Vinod mentioned, we can create so many solutions. It depends. For example, if you are doing for a bank, we can create an HR solution, we can create a finance solution, or we can create the loan product solution. So we'll get multiple solutions here. Since I've created only one solution, which is called training, so I'm getting only one solution over here. And also, this is a solution, and these are the dashboard pages. Here also, I've created only one dashboard. Hence, only one dashboard is getting displayed over here. In case if I create another dashboard, I'll get multiple dashboards over here. So this is my dashboard, which I've created, like number of candidates, trained candidates, candidates by gender, candidates by geography, candidates by caste, trained candidates by caste. Okay. So as we not showed one option here, sharing the sharing this dashboard. So before sharing the dashboard, we have to make sure that we have created that user on NanoBI. So I'll just take him to the page where we can create the user. I'm going to the landing page. Here you can see user management. Have already created one user called Guru Kiran. Okay. Now I'll create the new user. Okay. I can take your name only. I'll take your mail ID. I'll just show for the just for the demo purpose.
Yeah.
So I'll be giving the name, email through which user can access on NanoBI. Okay. Then designation if required, it will show. We cannot give the duplicate emails.
Okay.
For example, if I want to create with same email ID, it will not allow, because your email will be the unique one. Okay. So designation we can give like TL or whatever. It's not mandatory. Okay. And we can give our user designation and access on holidays. There will be some use cases where users don't want to access on holidays, or if yes, we can select the option access yes, and we can give the mobile number. As we know, showed you one option is the alert option, right? Where it will send a message to your phone number or to the mail. So we can give the
Okay.
phone number. So I'll just give 00, like just for demo purpose. And there's something called multiple machine logging. So if I enable this, so using your credentials on NanoBI, we can log in into multiple messages if we enable this. In case if you don't enable this, then only at a session, at a time, only one user can access your credentials. If any user gets to access from the same username, there will be an alert message on the platform that user is already logging in. Okay, so I can enable it or disable it. Okay.
Okay, so the concurrent and name user licensing.
Then I will select which app, which solution to give, which role to give, and which nano marks to give. Okay, I will select here. Since I have only one solution, as I told you, training, I'll select the training and roles. I'll come to the roles part. Here you can see there are so many roles. As I told you, some users they just want to see the dashboard. They don't want to work on NanoBI, they don't want to create anything on NanoBI. They just want to do the dashboards. And some users, since they'll be having fair knowledge on SQL, they'll be knowing the BI tool. If they want to create their own reports, if their own NanoMart, independent of NanoBI employees, then we'll be giving training on them. Then we'll be assigning the analytical app designer access to those users. So here, what I will do for you, I'll just give you dashboard access, just a view of the dashboard access by so that you can just view the dashboard by not you cannot create anything on NanoBI. So I just give data visualization part over here. Then I will explain you what is the other access also. I'm just giving the data visualization part. Okay, I will save it. Then I will that's it. Then I will create it. Okay, user created successfully. So whenever the user is created, by default, it will be in inactive state. See, you can see here, it will be in inactive state. So we'll be going here and we'll be activating it. You activate it successfully. So if you go in the list of active users, you can see you have been listed in the active user. Here also, I can go on I can go and make it inactive at any point of time. If I want to deactivate Guru Kiran, I can go and deactivate it. See, easy.
Okay.
Yes, deactivate. I'll activate him back. Okay. So now I've created a user. Now I want to. Now I can choose whichever dashboards I can give access to you. Okay. I'll go to the launchpad. Since I created only one dashboard, we'll go to that dashboard. 'This is the dashboard which I created. So if I go to more option, I'll be having share option. If I click on that, then I'll get the list of users. See, I've already shared this this dashboard to the user Gurukir. So now I'll be sharing to you as well. Okay, it will be marked with green. Then it will ask me whether to send a notification to them or not. If I want, I can send a notification. If not, I will not send a notification. Now I have enabled it. Now you'll get a notification on your email that this dashboard has been shared to you. Then I'll just give submit. Okay, then this dashboard is shared to you. Okay, then what I will do, I will try to log in from your user credentials. One minute, my internet is slow. My screen is visible, right, Ajinkya?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now I'll try to log in from your user credentials. Okay. So now I've created a user. Now I've shared the dashboard to the user. Now what we'll be doing? We'll be sharing the URL with the user, and also we'll be sharing the credentials. So by default, whenever we create a user on NanoBI, by default, the default password will be welcome1. WCAPS 1. I mean, I'll just show you. It will be WCAPS welcome. By default, it will be welcome1. Okay. We can change the password. So I'll give welcome1. So at very first page, it will ask us to reset the password. So I will give a new password like welcome@1. This password is a successful. Again, it will be welcome@1. See here, it will directly take us to the dashboard. It will not take you to any launch pad, to other features or other options and all. It will directly take you to the dashboard. Here, it will see, since I've given access to only one solution, which is training. In case if I had given access to multiple solution, multiple dashboard, then you will be getting a list over here. Since I've given only access to one app, I mean one solution, and only one hive, will be just continue. Then we'll get a dashboard. As Vinod showed to you, you can do various things like drill down, drill through, you can filter, you can do all such things, but you cannot modify it. Since we have given just end user role access to your, I mean to the user, to you. So now you can use now you can use the dashboard like this. Is it fine, Ajinkya? Here also you can do so many things, like you can do you can use all the options. For example, here I'll show you the drill down access. Drill down. I will take Jharkhand. Okay, I'll take Jharkhand. I'll be drill down on the Jharkhand. So it belong only one district is constituting these numbers. I'll go back, or I'll drill down on Haryana. Here also only one district. Okay, I'll drill down on Delhi. So it has drilled down to district levels. Central, north, south, west. So you can use all such options, or you can do drill across. Now I want to see what is this west is constituting on based on gender. I can use drill across. Okay. So I will be clicking on west. I will see based on gender. So all are female. Like this, we can use the different options, but only thing we cannot do is we cannot edit anything. We can just view and we can navigate through all those features. For example, if I want to download the data, I can download the data here. See, if you want to download this data, or if I want to download this data, I can download the data. If you go to more option here, I'll be downloading the data. It will ask me CSV, PDF, or Excel.
So when we are integrating it with Fundware, this is the dashboard that every user will get to see.
It depends. If all those 10 users want this dashboard, then we'll be integrating this dashboard to all those 10 users. Or we'll be integrating in a solution, and we'll be giving access to the all those 10 users to this dashboard.
Okay.
So I've downloaded the data here. This is my data. This is my data of this chart. Even we can download the visualization of this report. If you see here, export as PNG, export as JPG, export as PDF, we will export this. Export as JPG. Here it is downloaded. So we will get a view like this. Like this, we can use all the features on the high as a part of end user role access. And we can do drill down, drill across, we can use all such options as well. So this will be the end user. You can just view the dashboard solution. So if for example, as I told you, if there are some users which they have to create their own nanomarts after getting training, they want to create their own nanomarts, their own requirements to be created as a nanomart, as a solution, as a dashboard. Then we'll be giving the analytical app designer access to that user. I'll just show you how to give that as well. I'll be just logging into my master access, which is NanoBI training. Again, I'll be going to the user management, or I can update the roles of your user, of you. If I go here, edit user details, Ajinkya. So I will update this apps, roles, and nanomarts. Roles. I'll be giving the analytical app designer access. Both visualization, analytical app designer, and there's something called data operations through which you can load the data. So I'll be giving this basics, I mean, creation of metadata, loading the data. I'll be giving those basics or access management. If you want to create users, I will select access management as well. And I'll be saving it.
Where are these roles actually created? All these roles which you are showing me here. For
Yes.
this role, when you create this role, you must be assigning some menus or some dashboards, right? How does the
Sorry.
role manage? Uh, how does the role management actually works? Because the roles which you are seeing it now on the screen, you
Mhm.
must have created
Mhm.
this role somewhere, right?
It is the internal of NanoBI. I mean, it's already been created. Like for example, before it was just a data visualization part. So by logging from your credentials, you can see only the dashboard. Now I'll be selecting the analytical app designer and data operation and access management. Now it will give you the different, you saw different options on the launchpad, right? From the master login. Then you'll get
Yeah.
all those options, all those things so that you can work upon.
Okay, okay.
I'll just log in and I'll show you. I'll just giving it, save changes, and I'll be updating. User updated successfully. Now I'll just log in from your credentials. Welcome at the rate month. See now if you can see, you got all these options.
Acha, हाँ,
So you can create your own nanomart, you can create your own measure, dimension, analytic, you can create your own dashboard, you can also create your own users
हाँ. Okay.
like this. And same thing, and you'll be having access of the data visualization, the dashboard which I had shared with you
Fine.
under your login. But what analytical app designer can do? He can create his own marts, measures, dimension reports, but we cannot update or edit the existing one. See, in case if you want to edit this report, you cannot edit it, you cannot update it, but you can use save as. Similarly, measure also, dimensions also. You cannot modify the existing measure which has been created by the master user. So which is the master user? NanoBI training is the master user. So that the metadata, the marks, the measures and dimensions reports which are created from the master access cannot be updated. It can be used. You can use those measures and dimensions which are created from the master user, but you cannot modify it. But you can do save as. You can modify it and you can, but you cannot update the existing one. You can modify and you can do save as. And we also have something called power user, where power user can also have, you also have the authority or the authority to update the existing mark, existing measure, existing metadata, which has been created by master user. He will be having that responsibility as well, that role as well, where he can update the existing metadata as well.
Okay. Fine.
But from the analytical app designer perspective, you can create your own and you can use the existing measures, dimensions, and all. And you can create your own and you can create your, going forward, you can update whatever you can do, update or edit the metadata of nanomass or analytics which you have created. You can do it, which you have created. But you cannot update the existing one which has been created from the master user.
Okay.
So these are the two kinds of role. So now I've given you the, I mean, analytical app designer, you can do these things. We'll be having all these options to work upon. So after training, we'll be going through each one of the option. I'll be showing you how to create. Then based on your requirement, we will be creating the users, or you can create the users. After training, you can create, or any one of your team member can create the users, and they can give the roles and dashboard access accordingly.
Okay, fine. Uh, Before we end up today, I think we have already exhausted the time of the training. How will we get the access of this URL, or if you want to use, is it over the internet, or you will have to deploy something at our local environment, or you have already done that?
That I need to check with because we'll be having separate server for
Uh,
particular client or for particular client. Okay,
mhm.
so either client will be owning that server, or they will ask NanoBI to own the server.
Okay.
Then based on this there will be URL. This will be some, for example,
So,
my
so
previous
you for NanoBI, you need a server where you will install your components.
install my application, NanoBI application, and
Okay.
also the DB. Backend of the NanoBI will be the SQL server. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to install the SQL SSMS SQL server as well, and we have to create some databases as well.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
This part, I think we need to speak with Abhishek or Vinod.
Okay. Okay. No problem.
So if you can see, I was working on a project for NSCC, National Skill Development Corporation. Okay,
Mm.
this is their URL. They were owning their own server. This was their URL. So this will be same for all the clients or whatever. So this was their URL, and this server is with them, with
Acha, no
NSTC.
problem. No, no problem. In our next session, we'll discuss about the access. Even I'll discuss with my
Where
internet.
Vinod will be
Okay.
the right person for this discussion,
Okay. Okay. Fine.
because our product development team will be doing all this installation for things and all.
I think
And
it is already installed at our local instance. I will also check it internally and then get
fine,
back. Okay.
finally. Anything else? Any doubts? Or if you want to
Nothing.
tell me anything which Vinod wanted, which Vinod explained.
No, nothing as of now. I assume myself and team doesn't have any more queries right now. Let us complete the. We got an overview about what it is. Let us have a detailed walkthrough again on Friday,
Okay.
where we'll have some concepts clear about the nanobot, and then we'll have anything. We'll surely ask.
Okay. As Vinod told, we should be aware about some basic commands, or like, as I told you, that basic knowledge of SQL. So for creating an anomat, we'll be creating the table, and for linking the master tables to the fact table, we'll be giving the foreign key constraint and all. So these are the basics of SQL. So any of your team member is aware of SQL,
Yeah, we
so that so that
so
we can include them, Ajinkya, because if you want, in case in future, if you want to create your own nanomart, like if you want analytical app designer access, then it will be good if that user or that guy will be know, if they know the SQL, then he can easily create their own nanomarts. And if anything, as Vinod mentioned, procedures. There'll be some aggregations, formula. Then we need to write a procedure in a SQL language. For such cases, we require, yes, it's a basic thing, but still, if we have any SQL resource, then we can include them, so
okay,
that
fine.
he'll be managing the SQL part, so that he can create his own reports. He can write his own SQL queries and can populate the data
Okay,
based
okay, fine.
on. Hmm?
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll check.
Fine.
Okay.
You can talk regarding this. You can talk to Vinod also. Like if the SQL, if any SQL guy is required or not, he will explain you better, Ajinkya.
Okay, okay, fine.
Yeah. Anything
Fine.
else?
No, that's it.
Fine, Ajinkya. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks.
guys.
Thanks. We'll meet
Thanks.
on
Thanks.
Thanks,
Friday.
Okay.
Ajay.
Bye. Bye.